Now that we have our trials done, we can average our data. We can average them by adding up all the trials and dividing by 3, and doing that for each of the distances. But Excel allows you to do it much faster. If we type in equals average, click average from the list, and now we click the cells we want to average. Click and drag. So I am doing cells A3 through C3. I hit enter, and there's the average. I can repeat this for the other trials, but there's a faster way. I can copy this formula using this button right here. Click and drag this down, and my data fills in automatically. Now that we have our average done, we can graph our data. We're going to graph distance versus average speed. To do that, we're going to highlight the data we want to graph. We're going to go up to charts at the top. You might have scatter right here. If you don't, we'll go to all and just scroll down until you see smooth marked scatter. Here's our graph. This graph is missing a few things. First, we don't need a legend. We only have one line. At the top, we see chart layout. We should title our graph, the title above the chart. Your title should always be your y variable versus your x. We need to label each axis. Horizontal is the x, so we'll call it whatever the x variable was in your unit in parentheses. The vertical axis is your y, so we'll call this y-axis. And don't forget your unit in parentheses. Now we have a good looking graph, but it's a little hard to read. It's a little small. So what we're going to do is do a control, click, and up pops a menu. We're going to move the chart. Let's just call it graph to a new sheet. Now we have our data on sheet 1, and we have a graph. This graph is much easier to read. Now that we have our graph, let's describe the motion. We want to see if it's going at a constant speed, accelerating, or decelerating, or maybe a combination of those. We're going to look to see what the object's doing in equal amount of time. We're going to go every 5 seconds. How much distance is the car traveling every 5 seconds? From our graph, we can see that at 5 seconds, it had traveled about 2.8 meters. At 10 seconds, it had traveled about 4.2 meters. At 15 seconds, it had traveled about 5.2 meters. And at 20 seconds, just about 6 meters. We can use this information to figure out if it's going equal distances every second, or if it's covering more and more distance each second, or less and less distance each second.